Good afternoon. Happy Thursday, and it's a beautiful sunny day. I don't know, for those of you that are not in Toronto, I hope you are also having a nice day and nice weather. It's fabulous here. It's been pretty nice and warm. So I know some of us are joggers. I hope some of us have had a chance to either go for a jog or go for a walk. But it's pretty. So what I might do after this class, yes, it's very nice in Toronto, is maybe go for a motorcycle ride. So yeah, it's been an early season. I've been on my motorcycle once. I don't know if I've shared this with this class, but I think today may be another little adventure. And I don't know if there's anybody in the class that has a motorcycle or is thinking of having a motorcycle. It's never too late. I was later on. I figure, Elizabeth, you would have either go for a run or maybe you just came back from a run because I know you're a jogger. So let's continue today's session. Perhaps I'd like to give some time for a lab. So that means you may, to give you an opportunity to either stay and do the lab in class or perhaps do it on your own, on yourself. Maybe that means having a bit of more time on yourself. We'll see. But we should continue our topic of A/B testing and optimization. So yesterday I was thinking this class could almost be called optimization, and usability testing is one approach, one method that we can use to do optimization of existing experiences. A/B testing is another method. Surveying is a method. So it's research, right? We're doing research, usability testing. There's so much that we can say about usability testing, and I think that we're trying to introduce other topics, but really it's to help you to find out how you can improve experience, and A/B testing is one way to do so. Are there any questions about yesterday in terms of what we talked for A/B testing? We will continue today. We are going to go in more details, obviously. So I do have, I believe, a small video. Let's see if I can get the link from this video here. Okay, I'm going to open up and I will share the video, the link to the video in the chat. So you will have, it will take you to an article and you will have to click on the, to scroll down and you'll be able to see the link to the video. So what you may want to do, this is a very short video, not even 2 minutes. So you can look at it from your browser. So you probably want to click on the link. And Crazy Egg is a tool that allows you to do, I believe, A/B testing, and I believe also heat maps. So I don't know if anybody is familiar with heat map. Maybe I'll make a note and see if heat map, we can briefly mention it. So I just pasted the link. So what you may want to do is maybe review the video on your own, and then we'll come back in about 2 minutes.
You got a website. You want to run tests. How do you know what things you should be changing on your own website? Everyone
Great. Did we all have a chance to look at the video? I mute myself because I was afraid that if you're listening to it by yourself. Awesome. Okay, so what really stood out from the video? Anything that jumps at you in terms of some of the things that he's mentioned that about A/B testing, or even the tool, or other things about A/B testing that he's mentioned too? Yes. So yes, Anya, that I don't believe that I have used Crazy Egg, but I have used similar tools. So perhaps you want to make note of Crazy Egg. I don't think it's a very expensive tool. It's available on the web and it's very simple usually to install. You just need to have there's a bit of a line of code, and then you go to your developer, to your website, and then you ask them to add that piece of code. And typically it's on the pages that you actually want to see what people are doing as a recording. It's very, very powerful. So yes, Crazy Egg will do a few things. One of the things, and I think we'll talk about it next week, heat maps. So you can do heat maps. The heat maps are showing you what people are clicking on. So it's a visual view of what people are clicking when they come to your site. So you can see on the homepage and it will show you what people are clicking the most. So it's just another visual representation of showing you clicks or visits to the different section of your site. Do you need to have heat maps? You don't, because your analytics, if you have Google Analytics or if you have Adobe, Adobe has an analytics suite as well, it will give you what people click on the most and what section people actually access the most. Same thing for any of the website that you have. Now, the heat map is just, I think it's a fancy way. People like are visual, right? Some of you are in creative. We like to see visuals, and it's very impressive to see a heat map of what people maybe click on the site. Let's see if I can find some images of heat maps. So there are multiple heat maps. Okay, so I'm going to share with you that particular image. I think what's really key is for you, the main message to remember is usability is one methodology to optimize or really know what is happening on your site. But the data is very important. So you need to have analytics and data. And I would say if usability in UX is your choice of career and something that you really want to do, for real, you have to get close to analytics. You have to learn about data. You should be familiar with Google Analytics. You should learn, and if you're going to be working for a company that has a website, the more analytics you have as a UX researcher, the better you'll be equipped, and you'll sound very, very confident, and you'll be empowered. You will understand what people do and where people go, and you don't need to do usability testing to do that. The analytics will give you. So the heat map, again, Crazy Egg has a heat map capability. There are multiple. So you could Google heat map functionality or software. And the chances are they will do a few things. They will do heat map. Maybe they will do session recordings. Maybe they will allow you to do A/B testing. Nowadays, if you're going to be UX, you need to know data. You need to be comfortable of looking at data. And then you have to be comfortable of looking at heat maps, and then do your own usability testing or do A/B testing as well. Work with the people that do the A/B testing so that you have a good understanding of what is happening and why people are abandoning, and then how you can improve it. This is an example of what a heat map is. So if you see the Guardian to the left, it shows that when people come to that particular page, most people will be paying a lot of attention to the top left corner. Now, we've often said people will go from left to right. I think it's just the way that we actually read, right? But if you look below, the pattern is very, very unique, right? The image below, the pattern is somehow a bit unique. And then I will explain what the different color means. The pattern on the screen below, and I don't have any tool that I can draw, is a bit unique. There's the big orange, and then there's other spots that people are watching. Now, if we look at what looks like a Google search result, which is the fourth image, but fourth bottom right corner, this looks like a search result on Google. We can see that people spend a lot of time to the top and to the first words on the sentences. Red means where most people are actually clicking or they're mousing over. So I believe these tools, what they do is they actually look at mouse and maybe what the cursor is, and they're also looking at what people are clicking on as well. So, and then the one next that I would say the second image to the top right corner, it's a weird pattern, but I think what it shows, the red is probably what most people are actually, yeah, this is just a different view. The red where it looks like almost like a rainbow and this is, so to the very left, I would say there's almost two sections on the screen, and it's too bad that I can't really use my pen, but there's like two sections, right, on this heat maps of Google search result. There's the big guardian to the right hand side, but to the left of the big guardian, this is the one that looks like a rainbow. This one in the red is where people are probably most glazing or spending time, or maybe doing the mouse over. And then perhaps it goes from yellow to green, and the color coding usually for red means this is where most people are or where most people are clicking. And then yellow is then probably the second highest area where people are spending time. And then as it fades away, then it means that less and less people are. But we can see on the Guardian that a lot of people are spending time to the top left, below the navigation or maybe the navigation menus. They're starting reading some of the words of article words, and then they make a choice of clicking or not clicking. They're spending a bit of time on the, we can see on the image, perhaps they're spending a bit of time on the right-hand side too. So what these heat maps really do, okay? So let's say that you are StructTube, and then you have the heat map installed on StructTube, and you want to see where people are glazing or clicking the most on the homepage. You would get a representation like this. So you would get a sense of, are people paying attention to the menu navigation? Are they paying attention to maybe some of our images that we have on the homepage, some of our ads? But you do not need to have a heat map to have that information. That you will have the information will be available through analytics. You'll be able to know what people are clicking and on which elements are clicking on all of the pages that you have too. So it's really just a visual representation of showing you where people are spending time and what people are bringing their mouse over and what people are clicking on as well. So that, I would say, using heat map, using analytics, using the video recording is an example of triangulation. Okay, so what you may find is you may see that on Guardian, people are actually really saying they're spending time on where you'd like them to spend time, but maybe there's still something else that is happening that you don't understand why people are maybe not clicking or they're not moving to the next step. So that would be something that that you would need to explore. But typically, those tools will come with reports as well. So they will give you some report and some information and some insights. Same thing with Google Analytics. So in the video, what else have they talked about? I made a few notes, but is there anything else that that has jumped at you in the report? Video recording, right? I think Elizabeth said it's kind of cool that you can actually record the movement. Oh, Anya, yes. So the Crazy Egg and other tools will allow you to do session recording. So it will record whatever you want to record. Now, those tools are not free. Some of them are free up to a certain number of videos. But let's think that you work at Sunwing and you have 300,000 visits a day. You're obviously not going to be recording all session. Plus, who's going to sit there and review 300 recording session that you get per day? Typically, you will ask for a sample, and you will have a sample of video session that you can sit and you have to look at. But you want a tool that will give you some intelligence and some reports, which Crazy Egg will, and some other tools will. At Rogers, we use a tool called ClickTel. So ClickTel is a tool, very expensive actually. I think it was $500,000 a year to use. But if you look at the improvement that you can do to your site by knowing more what people are clicking and what people are doing, 500,000, depending on the product that you sell, is easily recovered over the course of a year. But the video recording session, what it is you can say, I want to record 10% of all of my visits, and then you can decide specifically the areas on the pages. So if we are good food, we would want to record the journey or the experience or the user goal of creating an account or signing up. So you would want to see session video recording of people that are actually doing it themselves. What are the benefits of seeing videos or recordings of people and this is live, right? So they're live, they're going to your site and you see video recording. What are some of the benefits that you can think from a research or from a methodology versus when we bring people in the lab and we ask them to do something? What do you think is the benefit of real video recording of people coming to your site versus in the lab? What about the fact that, yes, it's more natural, right, Elizabeth? So absolutely. Now, another reason not to do usability testing, because it's very powerful, but the user are really doing the real things, right? They're doing the things. They're not pretending that they want to create an account. They're actually trying to create an account. Or maybe they're trying to place their order, the meal order for the week. Or they're trying to skip for a week, right? So you're seeing people in the normal environment, they're actually trying to do. So yes, you observe and you replay the video. So with the session recording, you will have a list of all the session recording that you have, and then you go play and you see them. And then you can play them accelerated mode, like 1.5 speed, twice the speed. And then Crazy Egg I haven't used, but some of the tool will tell you data about maybe challenges or obstacles, and then suddenly maybe there are things happening that was not happening on the video recording, like people are dropping, more people are dropping, or maybe time spent is increasing. But it's a starting point for you to know, should I be worried or should I be spending time on this particular flow, and then how do I improve, and then what maybe some of the issues can be. So again, usually this tool, they should always be on. So you should always have video session being recorded. And if you, I don't know if you work for a business, if you don't work yet for a business, that should be one of your first questions that you should ask to whoever is in analytics or digital is, do we have a tool like Crazy Egg that do session video recording? Do we have an A/B testing tool in our business? So do we have video recording? Do we have A/B testing? Do we even have heat maps? Heat maps are good, but at some point, there's so much that you can learn from a heat map. And you will see that often your heat maps will look very similar time over time. Now, and then you should have a survey tool as well. So what you would do, let's say that Lillian is in charge of good food and she needs to improve to get more people to subscribe to good food to become a customer. Then she would want to have recording, video recording. She would want to have probably a survey to the last step. So why is the last step of creating an account? Why would we think that maybe we should start from the last step? Any idea? And I know this is touching your analytics research buckets of knowledge. So let's say that you are good food and you want to go to the very last step, and you want to start from the very last step. So let's say the very last step is their payment page. And then when you go submit, then your account is created. Let's pretend. I'm not 100% sure. The benefit of starting from the very last step is then you go backward, because your last step should be super optimal. Because why optimize for when you get to step 7? Let's say there are 7 steps in good food. If you optimize step number 1 and you get more people to get to step number 2, at some point you will get to step 7 that is broken. Why bring more people into a hole, into a funnel when there's going to be holes that you're going to lose them, right? So you want to start from the last step and you want to optimize from the last step and you want to work backward. so that there's no point to bring more people to step 2 if step 7 is broken. And that is the approach that I have used at Rogers. That is the approach I've used at Air Canada Vacation. You start from the last step and you work your way backward. So you start go to the payment page and then you work backward. If we are StockTube and we want someone to be able to do to buy the mirror, then we will go as far and then we're going to work our way backward too. There's no point to have the best listing if they actually never going to be, if they will get to the payment page or if we'll get to the checkout, then there'll be some challenges. Same thing with my quay, right? So if we need to go as far as we can, and you remember, people were getting disappointed when in your usability study. They would say, "Oh, great! I can see the guitar. I can find a guitar." There were challenges, but then as they moved through the product detail, then the confusion started with in stock, out of stock, home delivery, pickup. Then they continue, and there was other deception points, right? So you want to go as far as you can from deception and remove them, and then improve and go back where you way backward. It's a lot more effective. So that is how you would do if you had the A/B testing. Now, what you would do is you would put in place some A/B testing on the last step, but you have to do some hypotheses of why do you think certain things are missing or broken as well from your data analytics. We're going to talk more about this, but overall, there is A/B testing, but then you also have a choice to where do I start when I do A/B testing? At which point do I start? And I would say you probably want to start from the very last step and work your way backward if you want. Now, when you think of A/B testing, let's say that you're going to be in charge of A/B testing. So you need to have a sense of how many tests are we going to do? Where will be our tests conducted? And usually you will go with the flow that actually brings the most money to your site. So if we were at StockTube, we want to go, and if buying online is important for them, then we would spend some time in that flow. If ordering but home pick and picking up at the store is also a very important flow for them, then you would make sure that that flow is also into your plan for what you will be testing for the year. And then same thing with Zara. And we know Zara has a lot of issues with Zara, and then also for not just buying flows, but returns, sell things, the things that I can do on my own so that you don't have to call. At Rogers, as I said, we spent a lot of time on the buy flows, and we spent a lot of time on the Rogers, my Rogers and my Fido, so that we could optimize the experiences of people that want to make a payment. So we've done a lot of optimization, A/B testing on making a payment. And we actually started from the payment screen, and then we work our way backward as well. So let's carry on. But video recording is very powerful. Now, the only thing with video recording, as I said, you may have thousands of videos that have been recorded. So it's rarely are you going to sit there. But you may. You may sit and then watch, and then get some insights about what people are clicking, where people are clicking, and then come up with some hypotheses of why people are having certain challenges. I forgot the name of the tool that I use at Air Canada Vacation, but I discovered that we had a step where people were logging in at Air Canada Vacation, which you don't really think that it's an issue. It was very simple. You either log in or you continue as a guest. But what we discovered through the video is people were trying to log in using Aeroplan. I would have never discovered this otherwise if I had not had a video recording. So what was happening is my analytics did not tell me, was not capturing what people were trying to enter as they were trying to log in. And the video recording showed me that people were trying to enter their Aeroplan number and probably their password too, but everything is masked. The password is masked, but I think I could see that they were trying to enter an Aeroplan number. So the analytics would have never told me that unless I would have said analytics capture what people are entering in. But the analytics will tell me how many people are actually successful at logging in, or even how many people log in on Air Canada Vacations. But the conversion that I was seeing on that page was not any different than what it was before. So I had no big concern about the conversion because it was steady over time. So there was no real reason for me to really think that that was a problem. Plus, to me, it was so obvious. And the video said, we all make mistakes, or slash, there are things we don't know. And I would say this was a very good example of where the video actually revealed a piece of insight I've discovered that people were trying to log in using Aeroplan. Now, what I have discovered on that particular page too in that video, and I have not paid attention on the analytics, people were spending on average 7 minutes on that screen. The rest of the screens were like 2-3 minutes. So I had not really paid attention to why is that number so high when really login should be simple. But again, perhaps I have seen 7 seconds, but I actually thought that it was okay. They were just having issues with their password. But no, the issue that they were having is because they were trying to do Aeroplan in it. So now, what would be some options? In that particular case, what could have been some options? How could I have solved this particular issue? So any insight, any ideas of how maybe what you would have done or what you think I did to solve the issue of on Air Canada vacations at the step where people are asked to log in or continue as a guest. We've learned that we should support that. What would be some things that we could do to fix it? How would you fix it? What would you do different to maybe get more people to pass on or not use their Aeroplan number? Any ideas? You can type your answer on the screen if you want, or you can share voice or chat. How would you solve? What would you do? So what we know is we know for a fact they're actually typing in. They're typing in Aeroplan number, where we have login, put your username and password, and they're putting Aeroplan number. What would be an easy fix? Any ideas? Yeah, so one suggestion is we could change the wording of the instructions. Absolutely. What would be another option? What about supporting someone to log in through using the Aeroplan? Maybe that's something we could do, right? We could see with Aeroplan if we could support someone to log in an Aeroplan. In fact, at Air Canada Vacation, you can also redeem, you can book a vacation and you can use your Aeroplan points too. So maybe there was an opportunity there to actually support Aeroplan login there, and then for someone to use their Aeroplan to make a booking if they wanted to, right? So we would need to connect with Aeroplan and then get all of the Aeroplan username, password, and then connect and then log them in. That's also an option. That is more time consuming, right? Because then you need technology. You need to have technology, and that little thing can actually take months to build. And Aeroplan would have to agree. But as long as you can offer something to those customers as Aeroplan, so that really makes a difference, that it's actually it's useful to them as customer. The other option that we've used is we have actually removed that step. You probably think, well, that was a drastic option. Why not change the wording? So I don't remember if we've actually done an A/B testing. We could have done an A/B testing, could we not? For changing the wording on the instruction, right? So good segue to an example of A/B testing. So what we could do if we were Alessandra, then she said, let's change the wording on the instruction. So if we were to do an A/B testing for that specific step screen, then what we would say is, let's change the wording, and then what? See what? So what would we expect by changing the wording of the instruction, Alessandra, or the team? What would be the wording, or what could the wording be? And let's pretend that they cannot log in with their IO plan number. They have to use their Air Canada Vacations account login. So what could some of the wording be then?
It can maybe be like, please use your Air Canada account or login information.
Yes, so it could, and I think it was very similar to this, Alessandra. But what we could also say is, we could say a note, right? IO plan logins or not, you cannot log in using your IO plan. You can only log in using your Air Canada Vacation. So we could say, let's do a test, an EB test, by adding that wording, and then we would hope that people will actually not use the IO plan login, use the Air Canada Vacation login, or just continue as a guest. But our ultimate goal at this point is probably two things. We want people to actually pass on that step, because I was losing people. Some people would abandon, like people were dropping. So let's say 30%, I think it was pretty high. Only 30% of people were actually making it to the next step. So I think 70% of people were abandoning on that step. So that was a high number, and I do think that I knew there was something broken. 70% is very high. So we would hope for more people to move on to the next step. So we would hope that we're going to go from 70% of drop off to maybe 60% of drop off, and then we're going to add a wording that will say you cannot use your IO plan login. Use your Air Canada Vacations login. If you don't have one, create one. If you have one, then this is where you log in. Or you can continue as a guest, right? So we had login or a guest, and then we would say where we have login, you cannot use your IO plan login. Perhaps if you don't have one, create, or you can continue as a guest. And then we do an A/B test against. That would be an option. So the option that we've used, I did not have A/B testing installed at that particular time. And one of the challenges that I had at Air Canada Vacation was to get any updates done to the web. There were another big project happening, and it was the priority. And unless I could actually show the value of making a change to that step, I was stuck. I could not go anywhere. So I was trying to do an A/B testing to show the value, but I was stuck. I could not do the A/B testing. So what we've done is the quickest and the simplest for us at that point was to actually disable that step. Now, why did we disable it? I had to ask myself a question. What is the impact of disabling that step? What I have found out is less than 5% of people were actually logging in to make a purchase on Air Canada Vacation. So we've decided 5% was low. So we would impact a small number of people, and then versus the gain of removing that step, which we did is we actually removed it. And we have improved, and we got more people buying online. Because remember, I was losing 70% of people at that point in their journey. That was very high. So this little change plus multiple, we've made 100 changes to Air Canada Vacation, has improved the business. I think the conversion rate for the buy flow went from like 3% to 5% over the course of 7 years. You'll say that's not a big improvement, but it takes a lot of time to improve a funnel of buy flow with high volumes. It takes a lot of time to improve conversion. So 3 to 5% probably sounds very small to you, but when you have thousands of volumes and visits on a daily basis, it's actually a high number. So, and I don't know if these numbers surprises you, but in my recommendation to you, with being very good with usability testing, knowing about A/B testing, knowing about analytics, is for you to start gaining a sense to, if you really want to be involved in managing e-commerce, online experiences, businesses. This is a store, right? It's online store. You have to be familiar with what is a acceptable conversion rate. So I said 5%. 5% was from all people that were actually adding an item to their checkout. 5% of them would actually end up buying. So it's a small amount, but it's high volume. Sunwings, conversion was really low, but they have very high volumes. What you will see now, the more volumes you have, the more visits you have, your conversion has a tendency to also go lower. So to be familiar with these, but you're going to need to read, you're going to need to try, you're going to need to test, you're going to need to spend time with people in analytics. So I think the long story, the short story, usability testing is powerful, but there are a lot of things that you have access to before you actually go into usability mode. Okay, so that's one of the key message. So if we continue with A/B testing, so I have said I've been talking a lot about A/B testing, so some of it we'll be able to skip. But before I continue, are there any questions about either the video or the or anything that I have just said? There was one more element that the video has mentioned. He said, we want to make sure that the changes that we make to a site are actually improving our performance and not making it worse. Do anybody remember him saying this? We have to make sure that we're not actually going backward. We don't want to introduce more problems with our changes, right? So A/B testing will prevent that. A/B testing will give you more confidence. Usability testing will give you insights on how you could potentially solve some of the challenges. You will get some of that insight from A/B testing because you will test it. Usability testing will give you people's motivation too. Where A/B testing, you know nothing about the user and the people. It's really just factual what you see. But why we do A/B testing and why we do optimization is you also want to make sure that you don't introduce changes that will actually bring your conversion down, right? You don't want to suddenly see that less people are actually going through the next step. If I take my login, let's say that maybe we make a change based on what Alessandra said. We're going to change the wording. Maybe for some reason, the wording is actually making it more confusing. Maybe now, because we say IRO plan on the screen, more people are using IRO plan, trying to use IRO plan. More people, therefore, are dropping. And now you go from 70% drop to 75% drop. Then you go, okay, we have an issue here, right? So you want to make sure that you don't go back. And usually the term to use for this is regression. So you don't want to regress as well. So in A/B testing, A/B testing is an experimental method research. So it is experimental, it's random sampling, it's statistically significant. You're talking high volumes, quantitative, high volumes. You're taking away the people factor because there's random assignment. It is a research. It's real-time research. It takes place on an existing mobile app. You can do testing on mobile app. You can do testing on website. If I were you, I would start with desktop, mobile, the website. It's a lot easier to configure a desktop testing, A/B testing, than on mobile. The chances are what you will find on the website will apply to mobile. So, and I will say, if we are new, you've never done A/B testing, and maybe you're going to start being the A/B testing specialist at the business that you're going to come to with analytics or research, you want to make sure that you have success. So you want to start with the simplest. The website is simple. Now, let's think of our login example with Air Canada Vacations. What we found is probably also relevant on a mobile app, right? If the experience on a mobile app is responsive, and then what you see on a mobile app is what the desktop sees, well, the chances are you have people on mobile that are also probably trying to log in as IRO plan. Agree? So there isn't I would say the difference of mobile testing, A/B testing versus web desktop is the context of a mobile devices. And I think you're going to be dealing more with maybe sequence, availability options, visibility of certain options or not. But I have done most of my A/B testing at Rogers was website. I say 95% of our testing was website versus mobile app. Everything that we've learned from desktop was actually helping mobile experience too. It's done real time. So from the moment that you create a test and you go launch it in Crazy Egg, it's actually live. And I will tell you, it's so much fun to watch. Because you get very, very close to those tests. And you really want to find out what happens if. And you see it real life. So why I love A/B testing and why I love optimization, it's immediate feedback and it's immediate gratification. So you can see that there's actually something happening. You can see that there's probably a better experience, and people get really excited. I would go into tool almost every day. And it's such a big reward for not only for the people who are actually doing the task, but for the designer too, when they're open to it. Some designer will be sensitive. But it's immediate feedback. You see what is happening and you see if this is a better version or not. Sometimes you take bets. It's quantifiable, so it will help the people that are still uncomfortable with the small number that we've said in usability testing of 5. This is real. This is large number. And quickly you get large numbers. And you get, if you have a lot of people coming to your site, you will see large numbers very quickly. It will be statistically significant. The tool will do that for you. The tool will tell you if you reach statistical significance or not. The tool will tell you if the test has been running long enough. And it's not moderated. So I know when we hear testing, because we do usability testing, moderated, unmoderated, it's not moderated. It's real time. It's research. It's real time. It's not moderated. It's actually, this is real. This is happening in real life. So I've put a little image that is an example of what an A/B testing could be. So what do we see? What do we think the test is? In what do we think the A/B test? First of all, what is the A version? We think. You can circle it if you want. I would assume A is to the left, B exactly. Yay! We like this little drawing tool. And then great. So yes, A/B testing. The A version is probably, let's assume, to the left. The B is to the right. It doesn't necessarily matter, but it's more of a convention that I think we say A for existing, B for convention. What is different? What is different with A versus B? Yes, the green button. So someone had an idea and said, what if we change to green? What else? There's another element too, Anya. There's the arrow, right? There's an arrow. I don't know why they put an arrow. Do we know? Does it convey more of a sense that there's something that happens when you click on it? I think people know that a button is a button. But yes, so someone said, what happened if we change to green? Here's one of the benefits with A/B testing. When you have 5 designers, or you have 2 designers, or you have a designer, you have a very strong product owner, right? Yes, the arrow. Yes, green. So Elizabeth said green usually means go, right? Yes, red means stop. So different color will mean different things. There are like almost like agreed on conventions around them, but they also mean different things for people that are international, right? So, but yes, someone said perhaps we're gonna try green instead of blue, and we are gonna see what are we trying to test here? What do you guys think? What is the main KPI? What are we measuring? Or what is the hypothesis? Let's think, what the hypothesis? Everybody's familiar with an hypothesis? What do we think the hypothesis is? What would be an example of a hypothesis? Or just say in your words, what do you think will happen with green? And hypotheses are very important. You need to set a hypothesis. So hypothesis will be, we think that this item will bring more clicks. So here's a hypothesis. Changing learn more to green will increase the number of clicks on the green button, learn more. That is really the hypothesis. So that would be a hypothesis. Then what we'll do is we change the button. So we create a version B. We change the button to green, and we're going to track the number of clicks on that buttons. And we're going to compare that to version A. In this example, they've said we got 70% increase, more clicks. Bang. Do we have a winner? I say yes, we do. So you will need to set. The one thing that the tool will not do for you, it will not set for you if this is an acceptable increase. You have to decide what you consider as an acceptable increase. My rule that I had at any places, Sunwing, Air Canada Vacations, Flight Center, was any improvement by 10%, I would actually consider as a winner. That was our rule. So we've said, unless something is 10%, we don't consider them as a winner. They are a winner, but the question is, if it's a 10% and plus, then there's a highly likelihood that we're actually going to implement the change into production for good. So what do I mean by this? Anybody? So we have a test, and the test here says 72% increases. Great. We say, well, this is better, right? So we want to change to a green. Then it means you have to go in real life and change it to the green. Because if you remember, my test is just a test. It's sitting on the real side, but it's not permanent. It's temporary. So now we have a winner. So we say, hey, developer, go and change the button, or designer, go and change the button from blue to green for that particular step. Now that means that becomes a project, and that becomes an update that you have to do. Under 10% is not worth it because of extra work involved. Miriam, that's exactly why. You have to think about, and again, I will say, 10%, maybe you will be happy with a 5%. Maybe for your business, it will be 15%. Maybe for your business, it will be 20%. You have to think about what is the work involved. And maybe, and also, what you want to do is, am I making more money? What is the return on the investment? So in this example, learn more is maybe just content. There's nothing, I'm not really buying anything. So maybe it's hard to quantify, put a dollar amount, right? But if you were in a buy flow, what you would do, so let's say that this button is buy instead. So if instead of learn more, it's buy more, then what we would want to do is we would want to track the visits, right? You would want to track the visits, and you would want to try buy purchases as well. So in your tool, you decide what you want to track. So I would say, if this is, let's say, buy, so instead of learn more, it's buy, and now we say within green will help and bring more sales, then you want to track the number of clicks, then you would want to track the number of sales as well. So great if more people click on it, but if you don't have more people buying, then what's the point? Now, and this goes back to working backwards. If I improve this step and I get more people to click on learn more, but the second step that follows has problem, why bring more people to a step that has problem? Fix all the steps, right? So you fix step 1, fix 2, and then think of this, right? Now we're saying we have a winner here, and then we bring here, but if we're losing people here, there's no point. You're going to lose people, right? So you want to make sure that all your steps are optimal. And then we fix this way, so that this is where we make money, and then we improve, so that everything now, at least when they get to here, it'll be dollar. So that's the idea. Great. So that was an example. Let's continue on A/B testing. The goal of A/B testing is you want to find, is there a winner? Is there a better version? Now, I give you as a 10%. My my product manager. So I had product managers that would own each an area of a journey, or think of a customer goal on each of the sites. So I would have product owner that own buying a mirror. I would have product owner that own looking at your order, tracking your order. A product owner that actually own the mobile app. Each of them were in charge of a roadmap for all of their A/B testing, and then they wanted to look find winner. Really, it's you want to find a way to improve. That's really what it does. So that's the goal of A/B testing. You want to find if there's a way that I can make this a better product. So this is really on screen another example of another A/B testing. So add to buy bag, buy now. See? So they're looking at the number of clicks, right? And they're looking at the number of conversions. So that's probably buy. And then they have both 1,000 visitors see variants A and B. So this is what is today on the left, and this is what is the B test and with a buy now. So perhaps maybe when this step was designed, there was debates at add to buy, bag, buy now, add to buy now. And at some point, someone said, we are going to go and use add to buy because we think it's better. But when we are live, in real life, we actually going to do an A/B testing. And we're going to go with buy now because half of the room said buy now is probably better. And then they've looked at competitors. And you know what? To be honest, there isn't really a standard. You will see add to bag, you will see buy now, you will see checkout, you will see add to bag. There are many things, but there are things out there that you should use and base. But there are always going to be arguments, right? To be honest, we don't know. At this point, do we know? Who would say add to bag? Who would say buy now? So you can type in your answer or circle which one you think is the winner. But now we kind of bias, right? We kind of know because they've told us. But really, when you look at it, if you don't even know which one is the winner, it's hard to pick. So, but we have some people said buy now. Here's a challenge with buy now is I may not be ready to buy now. Maybe I still want to get more information about it, right? We don't know. Now, how would we know this? Well, we can know. We can know from a user point of view. If we have an A/B testing, now, based on this test, buy now is a winner. More people are actually clicking on buy now. So we could say, well, we think then for user, buy now is probably more meaningful than add to bag. Buy now is probably more what they want to do. But you would want to see also, do they actually really buy it? And in this case, it sounds like, yes, they are, because you have a 40% conversion. So that is definitely a winner. You double conversion, right? We have 100% here. So you would want to go with buy now for this specific example. So let's carry on. Why do we conduct an A/B testing? So there's a control, there's a variation. So you control, and this is what we said, experimental. There's a test group, right? This is your test group. These people are going through an experiment, right? And we keep going from red to green. You want to understand if there's a better experience, and usually that is version B, that could help increase conversion. In other words, you want to find a winner. You can set an improvement goal as a threshold. So we've already talked about that. I give you 10%. You can decide on something different if you want, but you need, because otherwise, how do you decide? And you don't want to wait to have a test result to make a decision. And it will depend also on how difficult is it to make changes. If it's easy to make changes to your site, maybe you use 5%. Every little improvement will help. Why would you give, like, if you don't, then it means you're saying thank you to business that actually want to do business with you, but they have an obstacle. And I would say A/B testing is there to really remove technical obstacles. Technical, or it's technical, and I would say languages. I think we often make tests about languages and also button colors. But you want to remove the barriers because you're assuming people are interested in buying. Some of the stages that you will see when you do A/B testing, so you actually go through your site. You would do heuristic, right? So we could have done A/B testing on all of the sites that you've done before we even do usability testing. So you've done a list of issues. You've done heuristics. So that doesn't change. You look at analytics too, right? And you will say, in general, let's say, the number of people that click on checkout on that do checkout is 25%. For some reason, your analytics shows you that yours is 20%. So your site, let's say structure, the number of people that click on checkout is 20% versus what you know, because you've learned from benchmark, that 25% is usually what you see. Then you'll go, why am I at 20%? And you may just completely spend all of your time to your checkout. Let's say you've done your payment screen and you've done everything and now you're at checkout. Maybe you will choose to actually optimize checkout before you even optimize payment, or you do both in parallel. You can do both in parallel too. Now, you usually do one A/B testing. You have one test usually running per page. Why is that? Anybody has an insight of why only one test per page? Yeah, that's maybe one way to look at it, Lilian. One task per page. Yes, you definitely want to focus on one user goal. Absolutely. Now, for checkout, there might be multiple things on the checkout that you may want to be able to do, right? So the real reason for one test is if you have multiple tests running on the same page, then that means that you don't know who's seeing what. You're starting mixing, and now you have more than one element, so you don't know which element has caused an improvement. It may be the combination of two elements. So let's say that we change the blue to a green, and plus we actually changed the wording. Then we don't know if it's the wording. So if we think of login, the login page, example where people were trying to log into Aeroplan. Maybe maybe someone said, let's do an A/B testing. Let's add the mention that Alessandra said, I think, of let's tell them to not use Aeroplan number. And then your designer said, let's make the button green. So how do you know which one has caused the improvement if there's an improvement? So you want to have one test per page. You want to have one element different in version D only, so that you know that that is the element. Now, could I do multivariate testing? You've heard of multivariate testing and research. You can do multivariate testing, A/B testing too if you want. But I will say, baby has to crawl before he can walk. People has to crawl before he can swim, whatever. Start small. So if you are going to set up A/B testing, which I really think that you should, or at least work very closely to the people that are doing this, because that will give you a lot more ammunition for your usability testing. And in fact, you're going to find a lot of answers to your challenges through A/B testing. Then you would want to start small. One page, one element. Now, I can have a change. I could have in the same buy flow. I could perhaps make have an A/B testing on my payment page. I could maybe have an A/B testing on my list page of my mirrors at Structure, running at the same time. And they're set up separately, and you will get separate results and separate data. Could there be an interaction between these two happening? Perhaps there is, okay? But we don't want to go too crazy about it either. But on the same page, avoid having multiple tests. In fact, the tool may prevent you from having more than one test. At Rogers, we were trying to do sometime more than one test on one page because they were so different, and we felt that they were, oh, no, it's not this. Here's a challenge. We were trying to do A/B testing, but we also had a personalization message on the page, homepage. So on Rogers, and I've mentioned yesterday, we can also use these tools or Adobe Test and Target to use Test and Target to do personalization. It's the same tool that you're A/B testing. On the homepage at Rogers, we had personalization messages. So we could tell that Anya is a repeat visitor. So we would have a message that would say, thank you for coming back, Anya. Then someone said, we want to do an A/B testing on the homepage and move the blocks. We had conflicts where we had personalization. We were not able to do A/B testing. So we were limited with personalization and A/B testing. That was a bigger challenge we had to be concerned with. We were limited in the tests that we could do from time to time. But for you, you have to start thinking about doing one test, change one element at a time, so that you can really be focused on one, improve, and then you're confident that when there's a change, it's because of that change in version B. So you would have a list of elements. So you're going to need to do this. I'm going to have the exercise for you. Each teams will take their site and you'll think about some elements that, some A/B testing that you would want to do. So you're going to take structure, you're going to take good food. Now you've done A/B testing, you've done so much stuff. Maybe there are things that you think that we should probably do as an A/B test. So you have a list that will help you build a roadmap for all of your A/B testing. You should always have A/B testing, and you should always have a few that are running on separate pages, but you should always have tests running. Then for each of the elements that you're trying to test, you have to do an hypothesis. Changing the blue button to green will actually get more clicks and hopefully more sales. Changing the position of the way that good food asks for serving recipes will have more people will actually move on to the next step. Changing serving to something else will have more people to actually move to the next step. That means less people are abandoning. And maybe you're going to reduce time spent on screen too, right? Maybe good food, people are spending 10 minutes on that step. And you know it's too long. Maybe you want to reduce that too. And you're going to optimize until you get to your 5 seconds versus 10 seconds. So you have a hypothesis. We believe changing this will have X impact. Then you're going to set that into your tool, and then that will become your metrics. And then you're going to do your A/B test, and you're going to get results. Now we have more questions that we need to ask yourself. I share with you some example of testing goals. So obviously, we want to solve problems. We want to remove obstacles. People are coming to you. They want to do business. Remove the stuff that is actually stopping them. You want to get more conversion. So a conversion can be multiple things, right? A conversion could be a purchase. A conversion could be signing up for email. A conversion could be signing up for alerts. A conversion could be signing up for deals. So you have to define what conversion is, and then perhaps the other goals of A/B testing is to reduce bounce rates. Do we know what a bounce rate is? Yes, it's when they exit off. Absolutely. So a bounce rate is someone comes to your page, they abandon, they do nothing. Nothing is actually done. They just quit. And a typical bounce rate of a website is you want a bounce rate to be between 30 to 40%. I'm just sharing with you data that I know. So if you have a bounce rate for your overall site of 30 to 40%, or a specific page that is 30 to 40%, it's actually not alarming. Now, of course, you have to look at what is it today? What was it 6 months ago? What was it a year ago? Is it improving? Is it actually getting worse? And when something start getting worse is where you need to be worrisome. And you go, okay, question mark. We need to investigate here. So if you had analytics, access to analytics for all of your websites that you've been working on, you would have so much insight. You would have probably be changing the user goal and the places that you would actually be doing your test, but we don't have this data, right? Maybe we would find out that the bounce rate for the list when people get to the guitar list is 70%. Then we'll go, that changes the priority. And then maybe you have a bunch of A/B testing there too. Make low risk modifications. So you are testing, you know if it's better. And it's giving you more confidence into, yes, B is better, and we're not going to regress, right? Now, you will do A/B testing when you're thinking of redesigning your website. Now, nowadays, less and less companies are actually completely redesigning their website. Usually, they will take an experience or a user goal and they will redesign for an experience. And in fact, I would never do a complete redesign of a website unless it's completely broken. Because you're always going to have regressions. You're going to make things better, you're going to make things worse. So I would say it's better to optimize experiences. And this is why we do A/B testing too, is because we're optimizing for a user goal. We're optimizing for a user experience. We don't care about the rest really around it. But we know that we have a lot of people coming to StructU and to try to buy a mirror. And we're seeing that less people are capable, or not as many people are capable as they should, as we know, because we've seen in other places. Let's make that experience better. Do we need to redesign StructU entirely? No. Same thing with good food. If everything else is fine with good food, but placing the order is where people are having challenges, completely redesigning your site is not going to improve that experience unless you're going to need to improve that experience. So taking one user goal and optimizing for one user goal is what people do now. Now, why has A/B testing become so popular? It's also because we're no longer building websites. 20 years ago we were. We're optimizing. When was the last time that Amazon has completely redesigned a website? Does Amazon look? Amazon has done optimization, but Amazon still look and feels like when they've launched. Except, yes, they're adding features, but they've never done a complete redesign. They're smart. What happens with a complete redesign is there's an expression that says you give the baby a bath and then you throw the baby with the bathwater. Remember, I'm French, so someone would probably know the expression better than I do. But it's like you're throwing the baby bath after washing the baby, and then you throw the baby wet. That's what happened with a complete redesign website. Is there's a risk that you're going to regress and lose good functionality. Product pricing. We don't really do A/B testing for pricing. Here's a challenge. Often pricing is controlled by your pricing engine, and the website just takes the pricing from the pricing engine, and you can't really control the pricing on A/B testing. You don't throw the baby out with the bath water. Thank you, Destiny. Yes, so there's always a risk. So A/B testing is relevant, more relevant, even more relevant, unless businesses are willing to completely redesign, because first of all, it's really expensive to redesign. And it's very time consuming. So you're gonna hear people are not redesigning complete website, they're optimizing. And they're also doing MVP. Anybody knows what an MVP is? M like Michael, V like Vancouver, P like Peter. Anybody knows what MVP might be? Hey, very close, Lillian. Minimum viable product. So MVP for minimum viable product and MVP. So it's experiences. We're thinking micro experiences, micro journey. Create an account. Create an account. So it's one journey that you create, but it's enough so that you create the entire journey for someone to be able to create an account, and that's it. And maybe this is how Good Food started. And maybe they just started by being, you sign up and then you place an order. And then eventually, as people are using the product, the needs are evolving, right? And now we add more. But it's smart to do MVP. You minimize the risk. Also, what happens? What is the beauty? So let's say I have 12 functionality to build, but I only build one. Then I build number 2. Then I build number 3. What is the benefit of doing 1? Then we do 2. Then we do 3. Can anybody tell me a bit of the benefits? And so this is 1 month. I'm going to do that. And then I have, so 1 month, then month 2. So what happens is, I don't have to wait. Yes, exactly, Mariam. I don't have to wait 12 months, right? So if I have 12 things, I could say, do I do everything at 12 months? Or do I do 1, 12 times, right? To 12 months. Then that means at month 1, I have something live for my consumer. I can already benefit. Then I learn. I can do A/B testing here, and then I learn. I can do A/B testing, I learn. So when I get here, I have a super good site, as opposed to have nothing and then wait for 12. Wait to 12 months. And then I build all of these things now, and I go, oh no, it's actually not working well. I lose money. So it's iterative. It's iterative building, iterative learning, and A/B testing will help you to do that. So it's a lot more smart and more, it's smarter and smarter. I share with you some example of A/B testing that you can think of when you think about some A/B test that you could do for your website. So offer for each stage. So where do we do A/B testing? We can do A/B testing at any point in the marketing funnel. So this is like the marketing funnel, right? I can do A/B testing to all of these steps. I can do A/B testing on anything that I want. So there isn't one step. And I said though, do A/B testing, try to do A/B testing to go backwards, right? It makes sense to go from this to this, right? We want to be really, really good here. Because why push them down to something that will actually get them to move away? Benefits. It helps to remove team guessing. We are a designer. You work with designer. It's hard. There's no one answer. Sometimes we don't know. You can tell with confidence if there's a winner, it's really a winner. There's no question. If someone starts arguing about your A/B testing results, unless you haven't set it up, send them home. Say, leave me alone. It's statistically significant and it's good and it works and it's valuable. But what you need to do is you need to get their buy-in when you do your test. At Rogers, one of the biggest challenge we had was buy-in from design. So what happened is there's a lot of sensitivity around A/B testing. We all take very pride in our work. So we were testing the work that digital and a designer did. They're sensitive, right? They're very proud in their work and they're very sensitive, and it's also very subjective. They were really upset with us because they thought we were showing them wrong. So it needs to have change management. It needs to also come with building friends, making friends, and building relationship, and making feel that we're actually helping them, solving. But not every businesses will see it that way. So one of our biggest challenge at Rogers was not to do testing, was to get people to accept and people to actually make the change and make changes. We were meeting a lot of resistance from the people side of. They were actually trying to put us an obstacle on what we could and what we could not test. So it was so bad that the team actually got dismantled and we left. There was a lot of resistance. So I would say that learning experience was probably the experience that taught me the most about building relationship around A/B testing is the first thing you need to do before you start testing. Because you will have people that will sabotage. They will just do everything to keep you away because they're very nervous. So it's not typical. At Flight Center, we had not at all that challenge. And at Sunwing, I own digital. So I owned A/B testing. I owned analytics. And it was in my best interest to be successful. Now, but Rogers was structured differently. And everybody was working in silo and everybody was responsible for their own success. And they thought optimization was there to show them wrong, and they continued to do the things that they wanted to do. So at the end of the day, they were having a hard time to connect the benefits. They were only seeing the negatives. But we've managed to do some very good work still, but it became a challenge. So building sensitivity and friendship is really, really important. It's really easy to put in place. And it's really inexpensive. It's not that expensive. It's extremely powerful. So if you have Google Analytics as a tool to your business, if you have, the chances are you get A/B testing for free. So there's almost no cost. It's cheaper than usability testing too. There's no participant fee. So it's cost effective, and quickly you're going to show the return on investment. You should always have A/B testing. Now, I've talked about some of the trigger, but I've already mentioned triggers. Now, how does an A/B test work? So you need to have a subscriber. So you need to have a software that will allow you to do A/B testing, but they're not expensive. So you have to work it into your budget. But here's what I did. At Air Canada Vacation, I took some of my advertising budgets and I've relocated it to A/B testing because you're saving money to the business. You're converting more people. So why bring people from Google that eventually will get into a hole? So I've diverted money from advertising, I said, stop bringing me more people. Let's optimize the people that are coming to my site. That's one way you can do. So if someone says we have no money, say, okay, can we take some from advertising? If they say no, well, you can say, well, why are we bringing people to something that has holes in it? Give me a bit, you know? That's how I would position it. The test is created. You could create a test, A/B testing. My analytics people would create A/B testing, and they were not web developers. They don't know anything about coding. They were able to manage it. Some tests, though, you will need developer. Rarely, but some tests you will. If you want to start adding, so let's say that we want to do a test on our music store, and we want to start adding information about stock information. Well, now you have to talk to your database. So that maybe is a bit more complex to do, but it's not impossible. But some tests maybe take more time. One of the questions that you will have to think when you do A/B testing is, how many people do I send to version A? How many people do I send to version B? So depending on the level of confidence in your improvement for version B, you can split 50-50. Or you can say 90-10. Or you can say 75-25. You can do any split that you want. When you do 50-50, your test's going to need less time to run. Because we're trying to get statistically significant, so you need to have enough volume. So if you do 50-50, both version A and version B get the same number of visits. Random. Same number. So they will take the same time to get statistical significance. If you do 90-10, then it means version A will get 90% of traffic, version B get only 10%. It will take more time for version B to get statistical significance because their volume is lower. So it changes maybe the duration. That's really the only benefit. Now, if you feel that there's no risk of version B, there's no risk of changing blue to green button, then I would do 50-50. And then they both get equals number of volume, and it will take less time. If you think that there's a risk, for some reason, some tests will be more risky. An example of a risk may be, well, Air Canada Vacation. If we've done a test for Air Canada Vacation and removed the login step, it was a bit more risky than actually change the color. So maybe I would have not done 50-50. Maybe I would have done 75-25. Let's say if we think of a music store and we actually do something about out of stock and we actually think that it will improve, and we're going to say out of stock on a particular step that we're not today, and we'll be consistent in that test, what kind of split would you be confident with? (90-10), or would you be more inclined to a 75-25? Would you be more inclined to a 50-50? If the test was to add some information about out of stock, accurate information about out of stock to your step, what would be your gut feeling about the split that you should use? Do we understand what the split is? So I would say 50-50 because I think you're adding a valuable piece of info in this case. Okay. Every visitor, the beauty we said, every visitor has an equal chance to see version A and B. And typically a test will run between 1 to 2 weeks. But again, it will depend on the volumes, the number of visits that you get to your site, the number of visits you get to that experience. And then you will see results real time, which is a lot of fun. So the limitation for A/B testing. It will tell you if there's a better version for a higher conversion, but it will not tell you anything about user motivation. Can I get some water? And so that is one of the limitations, but you can find user motivation through other things. users use beta testing, or maybe there's a survey. You can do survey too. Now, some of the A/B testing tool will allow you to have a survey. Maybe there's a survey you want to attach, but you, when you go to a visitor and you go through the site, you don't know that you've been through a test. In fact, all of us have been through A/B testing, but we don't know. So you would be surprised to get a test, a survey, but it depends on how you position it, right? But there are ways that you could do. A/B testing does not replace good analytics. So you need to have analytics, and analytics is something you need to have for everything that you want to do. Now, here's the thing, and this may be advanced. You can use A/B testing to track. Let's say that for some reason your website doesn't have tracking for a particular things that you want to track, and it will take time for Google Analytics to be set up for that tracking. You could use your A/B testing to actually set up tracking on that piece until Google Analytics is set up. So don't need to say more about this, but there's so much benefits. Since we're doing unmoderated, do we have used survey for the person to fill out on their own? There's no survey, there's nothing. So good question, Lillian. There's no survey. This is real time. There's no, do we need permission? These people are coming to your site. They're coming to your site to do whatever they would normally do. They don't even know. There's no screening. And that's the beauty. It's real. There's no screener. So this is happening real life. You are all been through A/B testing without knowing. There's no ethic issues. Now, what some businesses will do is they will have in their privacy policy or in their terms of conditions, terms of use of website. Some businesses are like at the footer on the About Us will have something. You'll click privacy. They may tell you that they are from time to time conducting some, they're using cookies or they're conducting some optimization on their site. They're using a A/B testing tool, but nothing is being saved. We're not collecting information about the customer that we would use that we're not supposed to. So this is the other thing too. There's no recruiting. There's no consent. There's no acknowledgement. The people are coming to do what they would normally do. Video recording though. We talk about video recording. In fact, most video recording tool will ask, and they will make it a requirement. You have to mask the credit card information. You have to mask sensitive information so that you're not recording it. Imagine that we have video recording on our payment page on Good Food, and we're recording the payment. And when they put the credit card, the tool will actually not even allow you to launch or install the tool if you don't have that in place. The personal information, the consumer information, but you don't need to have consent for people when they come to your site. People are agreeing to the terms and use your site. This is where you can put that if you want to, but I have never heard of anybody being sued because someone has done A/B testing on them. In fact, you don't. It's part of normal. It's part of their business. This is how they optimize their business. So that's another benefit. It will not, A/B testing really will not tell you why version B is better. Maybe in some cases it's obvious. If we think of blue and green, it's obvious that it's the green button. But it will not give you anything about motivation. So it will not tell you why it's better, but you will guess. And this is why I said, only have one test, only change one element. Then you will know that if there's conversion, the only thing that could explain a difference is really the difference in what that your version B has. But you don't have motivation. But you can only know that perhaps green is attracting more people. But you don't know why green is attracting more people, right? You can only say your hypothesis, right, is learn from blue to green will increase customer conversion. More people will click. That's all you can say. You don't know why more people are clicking. Is it because green is more attractive? We don't know. But we just know that it's attracting, getting more people to click. Now, if your site does not have high traffic, it will take longer for you to see results. We talked about this. And then my piece of advice when you do A/B testing is keep it simple. One test, one platform, start with web, and then one version B. Aim for highly visited page of flow. So obviously you want to go to places where people are going. You want to go and do a test where people are actually going. You want to go to do a test where people are actually bringing money or saving you money. So we often do A/B testing for buy flow, but you want to do A/B testing on your self-serve flow. Find the returns, how to place a return, track my orders, change my order, cancel my order. Well, some businesses want to make intentionally cancel difficult, like Good Food does. But Rogers, we had a lot of testing on allowing people to pay their bill online on their own, allowing people to create their Rogers account, allowing people to set alerts for the data, allowing people to add more data to their plan. So, and then anybody in the business that will object your test. So as I said earlier, there's a lot of sensitivity. The more you involve people, the more they will know what it is that you do. The more they will say you, the more they're actually going to ask you for a test. A/B testing can be done for almost anything. And it's not just for copy. And in fact, a lot of the tests that I've done for copy don't really bring conversion, the improvement. Now, why? Or adding copy often doesn't improve conversion. Why? Why do we think adding more copy or changing copy? Of course, it depends where. For I see that I'm frozen. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. Oh, can you hear me? My cam is frozen, and I get a window from Chrome. Can someone say yes? We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm frozen. I don't know what's going on. Copy doesn't really has a huge impact. Of course, there are probably always exceptions. People don't read. People will actually they will go and click on the things that they think are buttons, and they will maybe glance and scan to some of the words, but a longer piece of text or more text will not really make any differences. I find in the A/B testing. The example that I share with you from blue to green, wow, I wish any of my change color will give me a 100% increase. I have done a lot of color testing, and I was below my threshold, and I was below 5%. Another A/B testing that we've done. So the beauty when you do like 100 and you do a lot of A/B testing as a business, you start building a repository of A/B testing. So you will know what A/B testing you've done. You will know what happened. Was it successful? Was it not successful? So that you become better and smarter and you have more knowledge. So the test that you will do will become more advanced and more sophisticated and more valuable for the business. So lots of value. So the other thing that you have to do when you do more A/B testing is start thinking about where are we going to put all of our test results, finding, and what we found so that we can go and look at them. We can look at them back and we can say, we've done a test, here's what we found. But maybe we have another version of that test that we can do. Okay, so my computer is stuck. You stay, don't go anywhere. I will close Chrome and I will come back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I don't know why it was. I could just not go further in. Beyond, can you all hear me? Great, awesome, thank you. Okay, so if you were to do A/B testing, and you would have some steps you would need to follow. So the first one will be, and this is a framework. So, and again, keep it very, very simple. So what I want you to think in the lab, there's a part section for the lab. We don't have a lot of time left, but I think I would really like for you to do a practice of at least thinking of a test and go through that process of what, if you were to do an A/B testing for your site, for each of your site, respectively in teams. So you could do individually if you want to, or you can do in team. I'd like for you to think about what would be a goal of a A/B test that you would want to do. Maybe you do want to do an A/B test on the good food and you want to improve, you want to get more people to actually sign up. Then I want you to think about some test ideas for signing up. So let's look at good food very quickly. And I want you to think and brainstorm about some test ideas that you could do for your site, for a specific journey or goals that we want to do. And I'm sure that you already have a lot of test ideas that you would want. And then the next step is we're going to do hypotheses. So let's go to perhaps signing up. So if we say signing up, well, get started. Maybe we want to do a test on a green, get started with green. We say, we believe with green, get started, more people will click. And then you could say, we're hoping that more people will successfully sign up. So that will be your hypothesis. Changing red to green will get more people to sign up. More clicks on get started, more people to sign up, successful signups. And that's one test. And then you go on and you go on. So let's say we do get started. Then we say, okay, great. So here on this page, easy prep, classic basket, and then the default, if we say the default, then I want you to think about really like what could be some of the tasks that you think would be impactful and get more business. So think about getting more business to the business. And then if I were good food and based on the usability testing that you've done, I'd like to hear from the team. What would be an A/B test that you would like to do on this particular page? So let's think about this. Your team, the team that has done good food, or anybody else, what would be a task do you think that we could do on this particular step here?
Seeing if which one got clicked on the most.
That would be analytics. At this point, you could do that from analytics, Ashley. If you could say which one to get most click, right? And analytics will do you. But if you wanted to do a A/B test, you would have to think further of what could I do to get more clicks. So maybe that's the question. Is there something here that we could do to get more clicks, but more clicks on what? Is it select this packet? And again, there's no one answer, right? We're brainstorming. So and this happens real time, real life a lot in teams. So we could say today, and I think when I land on this particular page and I go get started, classic basket is actually highlighted, right? It's actually the one highlighted by default. So perhaps we say, let's also change select this basket to green here and see if we get more people to select this basket. That could be an A/B test. We're going to change select this basket to actually green. Now, maybe someone else said. So that would be a test idea. Maybe another test idea is someone, for some reason, doesn't think that select this basket is good. Maybe they're going to say select this meal. Then we're going to do another A/B test. So you list items. Remember we said a list of test ideas. So you could think of test ideas like this. You list them all, list them all, list them all. We're going to change select this basket to select this meal. Or continue. Maybe someone says continue. Or select. I don't know. So you go on and you go on and you go on. And then we think, would there be another test in here that we could, maybe the images. I think imagery is something that has come up in a lot of the participants that we're participating in good food. Those thing images are not very representative. Maybe this image is not really appetizing. Maybe, what if we show an image of what is this meal? I don't know, right? And this is what we don't know. We think about what could be done that could actually help. Now, maybe there's another thing here that we do is we do a test. We want to hide, you get 3 females. Maybe we want to hide, you get the 3 females, got another coupon. It's distracting. So maybe you do another A/B testing. We're going to hide any other links that people can click on this page, which would be almost like Amazon, what they do when you go checkout, or most e-commerce site, when you go checkout, they actually remove everything. You only have a logo and the steps. Step 1, give us your payment, give us your name. Step 2, give us your mailing. Step 3, give us your payment page, right? So this is how you would do. And then you would say, okay, we had a lot of people that had challenges with recipes or servings. Maybe there's something to do with labels. Maybe we could do another test that plays with labels and change recipes to something else. Now, if you said we would want to do a test and change recipes 2, 3, and 4 and have a completely different way of picking recipes or picking surveys, this is where you may need to have a developer to help you. But what I would say, don't worry about developer. Worry about what did we find in a test that we think that we could that in the usability testing even, that we could probably do as an A/B testing. Is there something at that particular step here, the team that has done good food, that you remember that maybe we could also do, that we think that would actually solve or maybe help with some of the problems that we've seen? Perhaps it's far behind. Now, I just saw another test that we could do. I had never seen this. Original recipe, seasonal and fresh, convenient free delivery. Show that earlier. Perhaps, you know how we said we would do a test where we actually remove, you get 3 meals? What if we were to move these original recipe, seasonal, above? Because I think it's important information that I'm not even seeing, because I'm probably not scrolling, because you're asking me to pay a lot of attention on this page here. And then what's on the menu this week? I think, do I need what's on the menu at this point this week? I don't think I need it too. Perhaps we could have another test that we would actually hide what's on the menu this week. And if I remember, that step, people thought there were a lot of things that we wanted to do, and some people were abandoning. So maybe you want to do minimalist. You want to make this step even more minimalist. So you could do some A/B testing that would actually hide what's on the menu this week. And you would continue. So you would look at, how can we really improve people to get to what we want them to do? Well, that's it. So yes, Ashley, some people, this is probably the first time I even see it too. So, but maybe it is noise for other people that see it too, right? We're trying to do a lot of things here. So this is how you do A/B testing. And I will tell you, you come up with a long list, and you probably have a list that will take you for 6 months. Now you have to prioritize them too. Which one do we think is probably going to be more impactful? And then you test. And then maybe you're going to find new things. Maybe you're going to find things. Maybe you're going to change your order and priority. So that is, and then, but again, you would do one A/B test at a time. So we already have almost 10 ideas of tests that we could do. And if we have a test that takes 2 weeks, right? And you can only have 1 test per page. You see that we're gonna have tests for a few months. So this is why you have to really think about the ones that you think that will be most impactful today. Now, if we follow the logic of, oh, and this, okay. Imagine if we could do a test to remove or add the option to do guest. I will tell you, you'll be a star. Now, this is a good example of a test that you will need to have developers, because you're adding a step, you're adding functionality that goes beyond A/B testing, the tool. But I would do a test to actually even bypass this. Maybe I would change. I would not present this step. I would do an A/B testing, but that test will take longer. But I think it's a test that will take longer that will make a difference. I would, because they're probably getting a lot of resistance, but you would probably need to get buy-in internally. But a test is just a test. It's low risk. Something else I haven't said. A test can be paused at any time. So let's say that we really want to do this. We want to remove this step and see how more people are actually continuing to the next step. That could be an A/B test. You actually remove the step, and then you wait to see if more people are going to the next step, and then maybe you're going to add then this step. So you're changing the timing of showing that step. You would need developer to help you to do that, but you would probably see a much better conversion, I would think. That would probably justify or convince the business to actually present it for later, or perhaps have a guest option too. So this will, even just that will take you a few weeks to do. But I think it's a good example of a test that would probably have big impact, but you would need a developer to help you too as well. So what I'd like, what else? Let's see. It's almost 3:15. Time flies. Let's just go back to the slides. Okay, so what I like for you is I have one slide that shows you, I have listed some examples of tools, A/B testing tools. I also put a link so you can read more about the benefits of each of the tools. And then some of them have like just a monthly commitment. And maybe you try A/B testing. And I'm not saying in class, but let's say you work for a business. Maybe you're just going to try. You do a month and you see a value. It's cheap, but maybe for some businesses, it's a lot of money. So you have flexibility with A/B testing tool. It's not a year commitment. It's not a lifetime commitment. And you can pause the test. So it's only good for your business. Okay. So you had learned about A/B testing before this class, but now you know more about A/B testing. I hope you start seeing the power of it as well. Do you see the power and the advantage of A/B testing? Of A/B testing versus usability testing? Yes. Do we see why we need both? Or it's blurry? Do we even think, why do we need usability testing? Yes. So it's particular to yes, I would say Elizabeth said it seems more specific to a particular problem. It takes a journey and it breaks it down in pieces. And then you can play one piece, you can try a piece, different pieces, and see if you get better results. Yes, it's a lot more specific, a lot more targeted. Absolutely. So you could do A/B testing before you do usability testing before you A/B testing. One doesn't stop the other. In fact, things will happen in parallel. But it's knowing, what do you want to know? What do you want to know? And usually we'll start from a piece of analytics. You will have a big piece of data that says, Elizabeth, conversion is probably not where it should be. Or good food, less and less people are subscribing. Or we want more subscriber. And they'll leave it there. They'll say, Elizabeth and team, we need to get more people to sign up. Then you go, okay, how do I do that? I have to use triangulation. Yes, absolutely. I have to look at my data. What is my data telling me? What was conversion before? How many? But they'll say, I don't care. We want to double. Okay, well, how do we do? You're going to need a big plan just for this. And at some point, you're going to use usability testing that you did. You're going to use A/B testing. But you're going to need data, the data to help you, to inform you as well. It's something like surveys versus interviews. So interviews are good, I think, to discovery. And maybe usability testing is good for discovery. But A/B testing becomes very, very specific. And it's very, very specific, very targeted, very powerful, and a lot of fun too. So what I like for you in the lab for this week, wow, I'm seeing something completely different for Blackboard. Okay, what I like for you to think about for this week is I like for you to outline a test plan for a one A/B test idea for your site using the framework that I just showed you, and then think of a test idea, think of a hypothesis, think about what the metrics will be. So I like for you to go through the exercise individually or as a team for your site. I like at least once, and then I've heard echoing, and then you can send your answer through email to the course message if you want in the class, and then I can give you feedback as well. But I think it would be good for you to try it, to test it, so you're not being marked, but it's definitely a fun tool and a fun method and a powerful method as well to be familiar with. So do it like I did. Do it like I did. I did 5 of these things just by going at good food. So I'd like for you to think about what would be some test ideas, what would you like to do? What would be your goal? So more often you want to get more sales, or you want to get more people to sign up for email, or you want more people to be able to do their own, right? So if you could think about each of your site and think about some test ideas, and then what would be some metrics and what you think the hypotheses will be. Like what will happen? Changing blue, green will give more people to click and perhaps more people to buy. And then maybe you may want to say what it is that you would change, what version B will do or do have different as well. And what maybe I'd like for you to think about is the split. What will be your split? 50-50, 90-10? And maybe a sense of how long do you think it would run. So if you could practice that, that would be awesome. And then send it to me by course message, and I'll be able to give you feedback. Next week, we had a topic for next week. I think was open topic. Let's see. Topic for next week. Analysis and reporting. So I think analysis and reporting for next week was for unmoderated testing. Oh, I haven't solved for unmoderated testing. So I have to solve for that. For the time being, continue to do what you can. We just don't know which tool we're going to use at this point. Okay, I will give you an answer on what we're going to do, how we're going to solve for, and I will, after this class, I will look at how do I fix that issue. Are there any questions about A/B testing? Ooh, capital letter. Are we angry? Okay, so there are some readings this week that I picked for you. I thought they were fun. One of them also is for Optimizely, and then it's a report. Actually, it's a PDF. I think that I have attached as a report. So I've downloaded the report, and I'm probably going to be getting some email. But optimization guide. So this one talks about some real businesses and some A/B testing that they have done. And if you Google A/B testing, you're going to get so much documentation on too as well. But I hope it intrigued you, and please do the lab and do come up with some test ideas and hypotheses and maybe the split. Share with course a message. I'll be happy to give you feedback. And then next week, what I thought I would maybe talk for next week is eye tracking. So eye tracking. Or is there a topic that you guys would be interested in that we could talk about? So the worst case happen, if we don't have tools to conduct owner, are we going to create a survey or any things we could think of? So maybe that will be an option, Huang, as well. But for the time being, let's assume that it will be a tool. But if there's no tool, don't worry. Maybe perhaps if there's no tool, maybe I may do a questionnaire. I may have like a quiz. Maybe it'll be a quiz, or maybe I'll ask you some short essay question about unmoderated, like benefits, pros and cons of earned benefits. I will find an alternative. There will be an assignment, but for now, let's continue that it's going to be the tool. Or perhaps there is user testing, but I think user Zoom. If someone can sign up with user Zoom, if there's another tool outside of user testing for unmoderated testing that one of our class is managed to be able to create an account with their Gmail account or the regular account, let me know, and then I will let the class know I'm not attached to user testing. It can be unmoderated testing. Okay. Now here's a different one with Surveymonkey. Surveymonkey is just a questionnaire, but unmoderated testing is more than a questionnaire because you're going through the site and your session is being recorded and things are being recorded and your clicks, what you type in, so and what you think, you're thinking aloud. When you do questionnaire, you don't do that, right? You're not going through the experience. That's the difference. But we will find an alternative. Yes, that could be an option. Absolutely. Good to be creative. Absolutely. But I'm hoping. Good. So enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy your week, the rest of the week. And we'll see you next Wednesday. And if you have any questions or anything in between, please let me know. And please send me your lab and I will give you feedback. You don't have to, but if you want to learn and get feedback, then this is the time to get feedback from someone who's done it for a long time. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day. It's beautiful.